back with chapter 18 of Help Somebody Get Me Out of 4th Grade. We still have the same characters as we've had throughout the book. Nothing has really changed. The last time we read was where we found out that Hank's parents are actually going to Philadelphia because Hank's dad found out that the Funk Brothers, that was their place of birth, and so he wants to go see their house and do all that fun stuff that goes with the Funk Brothers, because the Funk Brothers invented the first crossword puzzle dictionary. Oh my. Chapter 18. Before we left the deli, Papa Pete gave me a plastic baggie full of pickles to take home. That's our favorite food snack. Sometimes we go down the balcony of my apartment and munch on a good crunchy dill when Papa Pete tells me funny stories about playing stickball when he was a boy growing up in New York. Those are the best of times. Stickball is kind of like baseball. A pickle and a laugh. You can't beat that combo. That's what Papa Pete always says, and I really have to agree with him. As I unzipped the small compartment of my backpack to put the pickles in, I noticed the pink sign-up sheet wadded at the bottom. I smiled. Ha! I had no use for that anymore. Nope. My parents didn't need to set up a time to meet with Miss Adolph. They'd be in Philadelphia on Friday. I made up a letter in my head. It was the best head letter I have ever composed. It said, Dear PS 87, we are sorry to inform you that the parents of Mr. Hank Zipser would be unable to attend the parent-teacher conference on Friday. They have been called out of town unexpectedly. If you need to reach them, you can't. And that makes me so sad. Ta-ta for now, and yours very truly, Henry Daniel Zipper. P.S. Zipser. P.S. Yippee! Chapter 19. At noon on Thursday, a great thing happened. My parents, Stan and Randy Zipser, went to Philadelphia. They left us a note that said where they were going to be every minute, an itinerary. At noon, they were being picked up in a limo and driven to Philadelphia. At 3 o'clock, they'd take the tour of the Funk House. At 6 o'clock, they would ride in the limo to the concert. At 7 o'clock, they would be in their front row seats at the concert. At midnight, they'd be eating Philly cheesesteaks at Pat's. And on Friday morning, they'd be treated to a tour of Philadelphia, and if they wanted to, a trip to the tattoo artist. And sometime late Friday, they would drive back to New York on the fully stocked Stone Cold Rock personal bus. They left us their cell phone number where we could reach them in case anything came up. But believe me, I was planning to make sure that nothing came up. I wanted them out of sight, out of time, out of touch, and out of PS 87, Public School 87. Papa Pete stayed with us that night, which is always so much fun. He lets Emily and me eat Eskimo pies in her pajamas and play video games until we fall asleep. Well, he lets me play video games because genius girl Emily has no interest in video games. She'd rather stay up all night reading old issues of Reptile World. If you promise not to tell anyone, I'll let you in on a little secret. Sometimes she reads the articles aloud to Catherine, and when she does, it looks as if that leathery lizard is really listening. How weird is that? The night went off perfectly. My parents called after the tour of the Funk House, and I had never heard my dad sound happier. He was in crossword puzzle dictionary heaven. They called again before the concert, and my mom said that they would try to call afterwards. They didn't, but I was glad. It meant that they were having a great time, and so was I. I slept like a baby and dreamed about how great it was going to be in the 5th grade. Maybe I'd even get a nice teacher this year. I had heard that Miss Warner was cool and let you watch videos on the days before vacations. And Mr. Mooser told funny jokes and didn't mind if you got a snack from your lunch bag if you were hungry during class. In the morning, I woke up and hung around in my pajamas. It was great having no school. Don't you just love parent-teacher conference day? I said to Cheerio when I woke up. He flipped over on his back so I could rub his tummy. Yeah, boy. We have all day to hang out and do whatever we want to do. Well, that's what I thought anyways. Chapter 20. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning and I was sitting in my room playing a great game of toe basketball. I was beating my own world record of 18 baskets without leaving my desk chair. Toe basketball is a game I invented way back in 2nd grade. You wad up pieces of lined loose leaf paper and toss them all over your floor. Then you sit in your desk chair. It's better if the chair has wheels. You hold onto the bottom of the seat with your hands and scoop up the balls of paper with your toes and fling them into your waste paper basket, which you can put anywhere you want. I was on a hot streak, or should I say my toes were. 22 baskets and only 4 misses. 4 out of 22? That's pretty good. No, 4 out of 26. That's pretty good. Sweet. Suddenly, I heard this noise coming from out in the hallway. There was yelling and screaming and banging so loud I thought the roof was caving in. I admit it, I was scared. Our building is usually really quiet except for when my friends and I are making noise. But the noise that we make is regular kid noise, running back and forth to each other's apartments, using the back stairs, playing ball in the courtyard outside the basement laundry room, stuff like that. This noise didn't sound like it was being made by kids. I jumped up and ran out into the living room. Emily arrived at the same time with Catherine the Ugly riding on her back as usual. Catherine was hissing and snapping her gray tongue around like it was a whip. Papa Pete was in the kitchen, baking brownies, but he came out to holding his wooden spoon to see what all the commotion was about. We opened the living room door and looked into the elevator hallway. I could not believe my eyes. My jaw dropped so low it nearly hit the floor. It was my parents, none other than Stan and Randy Zipser. They were standing in the hallway of our apartment, singing and swaying and tambourining as if they were still in Philadelphia at the Stone Cold rock concert. My mom was wearing a black t-shirt with the band's faces on the front and the words, "I'm whacked out crazy for you," in hot pink on the back. She had sparkly glitter all mixed up in her hair. But it was my dad who was the most shocking. He was wearing black leather pants. And let me just say this right now. They were tight black leather pants. My dad doesn't spend a lot of time at the gym, so those pants were tight in places where pants shouldn't be too tight, especially the tummy area. He was wearing a black leather hat that made him look like a cross between Britney Spears and the leader of a tough motorcycle gang. And he was singing at the top of his lungs, banging a tambourine on his hip. "Dad, where'd you get those pants?" I said. "From Skeeter," he answered, then slapped the tambourine hard on his other hip. The door to Mrs. Fink's apartment flew open and she stuck her head out. At first she looked scared, but when she saw it was just my parents, she stepped into the hall and started dancing with my dad. She was wearing her big pink bathrobe, and I guess she didn't put in her false teeth yet because when she smiled, she was all gums and no teeth. My dad twirled her around a few times. She looked like a big pink polar bear that I saw in a Disney cartoon once. "Oh, did you kids have fun?" she asked my dad. Of course, we couldn't hear her over the tambourine banging, but I could read her lips through the open door. My dad didn't answer. He just grabbed onto her robe and spun her around again. She laughed, and I noticed that her gums matched her robe. I wonder if she planned it that way. "We're home, kids," my dad shouted. Yeah, no kidding. We would have never known until you told us. "Thank you, thank you, thank you, Hank," my father kept saying over and over and over again. "Kids, you would not believe your father," my mom said. At one point, the crowd picked him up and passed him around the audience. "Your dad," that's crowd surfing. "But Dad, I thought you didn't like rock music," Emily said. "Well, it's different when you see it live," my dad said, wiping some sweat off his forehead. "I'm so glad you all convinced me to go. I really got my groove on." He got his what on? Did he say groove? Please tell me that he didn't say that. And the band could not have been nicer on the bus ride home, my mom said. Turns out that Skeeter, the drummer, is a crossword puzzle whiz. And Stan the man here challenged Skeeter, we call him Skeet, to a New York Times triple crossword contest. "Who won?" Emily asked. "It was a tie," my father answered as he rattled his new tambourine above his head. "But I am down with that." "Dad," I said, trying to clear my ears, "did you say that you're down with that?" "No, Hank," he said, drumming out a beat on the coffee table. "I said I'm down with that. Skeet says you don't pronounce the TH, and so I'm down with that." "That is the same Skeet whose pants you're wearing, correct?" "That's right," my dad says. "We were on the bus coming home, and I leaned over to help Skeet with a clue. Think it was like 39 down or something. Unless it was 6 down, I don't know. It was a tricky one." "Dad, the pants, remember?" "Oh, yeah, right. Well, when I leaned over to help Skeet, wouldn't you know it, I ripped my trousers right up the middle." It was so funny. We all cracked up, my mother said, cracking up again. So Skeet says to me, "Take my extra pants, Stan." And I did. "They look pretty darn cool, don't they, son?" Oh boy. I have fallen into a dream that my dad has become a rock and roll freak. Wake me up, somebody. My dad strutted over to Papa Pete and danced in a circle around him, shaking his butt as much as the tight leather pants would allow him. Papa Pete laughed and shook his butt right back at him. "You can't out-butt shake, Papa Pete." "Hey, Papa Pete," my dad laughed. "Let me see you shake that thing." Let me point out that he didn't say thing, he said thang. My father, Stanley L. Zipser, computer buff, mechanical pencil collector, crossword puzzle nut, just said, "Shake that thing." Grabbing my arm, he launched into the chorus of another Stone Cold rock song called "Rocking All Night in the Meadow with You," pounding the tambourine on his hip in time to the wild beats. "Ow, that hurts," he says, rubbing his hip. "I have to find a new part of my body to play this with." Well, that did it. Emily and Papa Pete burst out laughing, and I did too. "Well, hey, next time, Dad, maybe use your butt," I offered. We all laughed. I think I even saw Catherine's scaly lip pull back into a smile. I never knew my dad could be so much fun. "Well," my mom said, "I hate to break up this party, but we have to hurry off now. We'll see you kids later." "Where are you going?" I asked, the smile still on my face from watching my dad's performance. "Well, we're going to school, of course," my mom said. "It's parent-teacher conference day. We have a 1 o'clock meeting with Miss Adolph." Did I just say I had a smile on my face? Correction. Suddenly, there was no smile on my face. It had disappeared faster than you could say redo. We will stop right there.